G'day guys, Reckless here on a short briefing and tutorial video for tonight's spy game mission for the player who is selected as the spy. Now upon the beginning of the mission, everybody is going to select their role, and once we get to this screen, everyone is going to find out if they are the spy for their faction. Tonight's mission, even though it is a adversarial team versus team mission, one person on each faction is going to be randomly selected to be the spy in that faction. Okay, and it is up to them, and effectively usually the opening 60 seconds to 5 minutes to 10 minutes that player can possibly blow their cover if they panic and don't set themselves up correctly to make sure that they have a successful mission. Now, once we get to this screen here, this is where I'm going to go through the mission briefing, explain how the map works, explains how the mission works, the strengths and weaknesses of each of the factions, and effectively what we're going to do. Tonight, right now, I'm playing on a test mission. We will not be playing this version of the mission. I've created this mission here specifically for this video and for some testing on the server. Okay, so I am playing as a Russian force. However, I am the NATO spy. Okay, so the first paragraph reads, "You are the US NATO spy. Use your secondary radio, the PRC-152, and set it to channel 999 and cycle your Babel language to English. Stealthily gain important intelligence on the moves of the Russian ammo truck and relay that information to the US NATO communication specialist." Okay, so moving on. This is basically going to help out those of you who are new to FMIS, new to ACRE, have not really used two radios before, and certainly if you're inexperienced with using Babel. Okay, in a nutshell, Babel is a language simulator. It allows you to speak in unique languages to people that speak your language, just like in real life. Effectively, anybody who's playing as Blue 4 will not be able to understand what people in Op 4 or the Independent are speaking, and in hindsight, and in vice versa, anyone in Independent is not going to be able to understand what US forces or what Russian forces are speaking. Okay, so you will notice that the time is set to 6:20, and when we start the mission, each faction is going to have 10 minutes. At 6:30, the mission is going to be live, and it's going to be started. In that 10 minutes, it's going to be up to everybody to change their radio stations, to set up teams, colors, and a plan. Okay? Now, fear not, when the mission starts, you will be speaking the native language of your faction. Okay? So if you don't touch anything, or if you don't fuck anything up, you will not blow your cover straight away. Now, when we check our inventory, you will see that you have two radios, an AN PRC-152 and an AN PRC-343. As per usual in our normal mission, a general grunt or a general officer or something like that is supposed to only have a PRC-343. Everyone else in your group is only going to have a PRC-343 in which to communicate amongst each other. Okay, so it's this radio here that we need to make sure we're using to speak to everybody else in our group. Now, unfortunately, ArmA being ArmA and ACRE being ACRE, I couldn't script it in that the PRC-343 is your default radio. So we need to change that. Okay, by first opening up our ACE self-interaction menu, which by default is Control Windows, going down to radios, and you'll see that the PRC-152 is set to our radio 1, and our AN PRC-343 is set to our radio 2. In order to change that, we have it highlighted, and we come down to here where it says push to talk 2, and then we want to change that to push to talk 1. Okay, now when I check my radios again, you'll see that the AN PRC-343 is now radio number 1. What does this mean? It means that when I press caps lock or my default radio key, I'm going to be speaking over the AN PRC-343. Then when I hold control and press caps lock, I'm going to be speaking over the AN PRC-152. Okay? So that basically now sets it up so that whenever I'm speaking to my squad leader or my teammates, all I have to do is press caps lock to speak over the radio. And then when it comes time to speak to my communication specialist on the other force, I hold down control and press control caps lock, and then that speaks over the long range radio. Okay, so very quickly again, caps lock speaks on your shortwave radio to all your teammates. Control caps lock now speaks over the long range radio. Okay, at this point now, you're going to want to make sure you set your shortwave radio to whatever it needs to be set to. Now, of course, on the map here, you'll see if we scroll at the top here, Blue 4 is going to have a shortwave block 1, Op 4 is going to have a shortwave block 2, and Independent is going to have a shortwave block 3. This basically is just so that team captains and squad leaders can use whatever channel they want to use without worrying about interfering with each other, because you're not going to be able to understand each other anyway. Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to go down to our radios, our 343, and we're going to open up our 343. Now, of course, they're going to say change yourself to channel 2, channel 3, whatever else there. We already know this. Change it to channel 2, but you're going to want to change to block 2. Okay, so to do that, we want to detach the handle, okay, by clicking detach handle, and then click this little blue button to change to block 2. Of course, block 3, 4, whatever it might be, okay, but we're Russians, so it's going to be block 2. And detach the handle. Okay, now we are set for our team. Okay, caps lock is now block 2, channel 2. Perfect. Our radio is perfectly set. I'm speaking our native language. Now what I'm going to want to do is check my briefing again. See that I need to set it to 999. Of course, that radio frequency doesn't exist, but for purposes of this video, we're going to go Control Windows, go Radios, open up the ANPRC 152. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Super complicated, I understand, but don't worry, it works out really easily. Come down to the PRE buttons, okay, and then change that up and down. That's it there. Alright, so of course at this point you're going to be wanting to be setting your 152 when nobody's paying a lot of attention to you. Okay, so don't be doing it while people are talking to you or anything like that at all. Maybe do it while you're doing the briefing, but we're going to set it to 99. Okay, and then of course we can change the volume of the radio just here using our left and right button. Left and right mouse button. Okay, and I press escape. So now radio is to reiterate caps lock, block 2, channel 2, control caps lock, channel 99. Okay, so now our radios are completely set for the rest of the mission. Alright, our voice volume is going to be very important. Now, of course, we're going to be wanting to be relaying information, okay, to our NATO forces. Alright, everybody, the Russian forces are going to be going here straight away and stuff like that on the radio. Of course, we want to lower our voice volume, okay, holding down tab, the tab button by default, and using our scroll wheel. Okay, so of course we're going to want to put our voice volume to as low as possible. 152. Okay, the Russian forces are going to be doing this. Now, of course, you have 10 minutes to set this up. You can't speak to your communication specialist until it's 6:30. Okay, so there's no rush to make sure you get all this right. Okay, it's a matter of getting it right within the 10-minute time frame. Okay. Now, the next thing is your Babel language. Now, this is going to be what language you're speaking, okay? Because, of course, you can't speak Russian to our NATO forces. We're going to need to change our language. To do that, our Babel cycle language key by default is left Windows button. Okay, so when I press the left Windows button, I can change back between Russian and the English language. Now, of course, if you're in a different faction, you might be speaking Chechen or English and stuff like that, okay? So you need to just change back between whatever it is there. Now, I need to remember before I communicate to my squad leader or any of my teammates that it says Russian now speaking, okay? You need to make sure you're speaking the correct language, okay? Otherwise, you're going to blow your cover, you're going to be arrested, you're going to be shot. That's the end of your mission, okay? Now, the thing is, that left Windows button is also the button we use to interact with things, okay? So if you want to go and interact with a box, you're going to change your language by accident, okay? And we don't want to do that. So what I recommend you do is press escape, go to configure, go to controls, go to configure add-ons, drop this menu down and go to ACA 2, okay? So about halfway down the list, ACA 2. And you're looking for the Babel cycle language, okay? So your Babel cycle language is going to be set to left Windows. I recommend changing it to your right Windows button, or any button that you don't use very much, like say Control that button, something like that, okay? But Right Windows works for me. That's what I prefer to do. Now, when I click OK, make sure you click OK so it saves. Click OK and then continue. Now I can go over here, interact with the box all I want, and my language is not going to change. Okay? And then I can just press my right Windows button and changes my language. Okay? Now, as it states here in the briefing, when changing the languages, there can be a slight delay before you start speaking your second language. So it is recommended you give it a couple of seconds before replying over the radio. Okay? So my point is just because it says English now speaking, there could be a delay in the mod for you to start speaking English. Okay? So you need to just press the button, wait a second, hey man, how's it going? And then now I can speak to my teammates because I'm now speaking Russian. The radio goes, your communication specialist wants to know what's happening. Press the button, now I'm speaking English. Hey man, you know, there's a truck heading down the road, you might want to check it out. Okay, your teammate now wants to know what you're saying. Change to Russian. Hey man, how's it going? You know, this is what we're doing. Okay, so I hope that makes sense there. The limitations and basically what you need to do as a spy to keep your cover. Okay, it isn't very complicated once you sort of understand how everything works. And I'm just going to really quickly reiterate. Okay, so we spawn in. We want to make sure that we change our PRC343 to push to talk 1. Okay, by going over here, but making sure it says push to talk 1. You can tell it's push to talk 1 because it'll have a 1 and a 2 next to your 152. We then want to open our PRC343 and change it to the correct block. Okay, and change it to the correct channel. Okay, so now we have all the communications for our own faction set up correctly. Alright, then when you get a chance, change the PRC152 to the correct channel using the PRE buttons. Alright, change the volume if you need to change the volume. Okay, press escape. Now we have the radio set. Alright, you can possibly leave the babble button as your left Windows button if you want to. Okay, you just need to make sure that you don't change the language and you don't speak the wrong language in front of your teammates. Okay, if you do want to change the button, press escape, configure, controls, configure add-ons, drop the menu down to Acre 2 and change the babble cycle language to the right Windows button or to a period of buttons that or a combination of buttons or a button that suits you. After that, change your voice volume to whatever you need to do. Remember to speak at a low volume when speaking over the 152. Speak at a loud volume when you're speaking to your teammates. Okay? Awesome. Alright then, other than that, make sure you read the rest of this here. Give as much valuable information as you can to your team. And see if you can steal that ammo truck, of course, at the correct time. Find the guy that's in there. Blow his head off and steal the truck for your team and drive off into the sunset. Alright? Awesome, guys. If you have any questions at all about the mechanics of the game, please message me in Steam or in the Steam forum there, the FMI Steam chat, and I'll do my best to give you a hand. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you tonight.